Hey guys, Mike B. Wills here with SpeakAudibly.com. I wanted to take time out and just tell you about an opportunity that I had the other day, and that was being able to sit down with Don Yaeger. If you don't know who Don Yaeger is, for 25 years he was a sports journalist for Sports Illustrated. The dude's just written what seems like 100 books. Amazing books. But he's just an amazing storyteller, and yesterday we were able to sit down with him. There's a group of us, but I had an opportunity. When everyone left the room, whether they were going to get food or ice cream or whatever it was, to ask him one question, one-on-one. I'm going to talk to you today about 3 things that I learned from Don Yaeger on public speaking. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome to SpeakAudibly.com. My name is Mike B. And I'm here with my son. We're playing at the dog park here. It's amazing. So like I said, Don Yaeger was a journalist for Sports Illustrated. So he was able to sit down, talk to, interview some of the most amazing athletes that we know today, from Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Serena Williams, to the late great coach John Wooden. Just phenomenal individuals. And so we were able to listen to his spiel and his speech, right? And it was amazing. But what I want to talk to you today about is I had just a couple minutes alone with him. Cue the romantic music. No, I'm just kidding. But we sat at a table and I was able to ask him one question. If you don't know me, I'm just obsessed with the mind, right? With how people tick. What makes you do what you do? I understand everyone has a why, and they have a big why, but I don't know what are the connections that are made in your mind that make you such an amazing individual. And here I was with Don Yaeger, someone who's interviewed so many people, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what question do you ask someone who asks questions for a living, right? And I couldn't get away from it. And so I asked him, and these right here are the 3 things that I learned from my couple minutes one-on-one with Don Yaeger. Number 1. When I asked him this question, this is what he said. I asked him, Don, what do you think attributes to the way your mind works? And he said to me, Mike, first off, I'm a storyteller. I'm a storyteller. So by nature, I want to tell a story. And in order to tell a story, first thing I learned from him, he said, great storytellers are great listeners. Great listeners. And so he would sit, and I could see it, because even when I was asking him the question, even when I was introducing myself, he was completely zoned in to me. I felt like I was the only person in this room, right? Like I was the only person that he cared about at that moment, because his hands dropped onto the chair in front of him. He leaned in, his eyes were on me. Right? You can tell that he wasn't just listening with his ears, he was listening with his head and with his heart. I had everything. I had his, what they would call, undivided attention. He is a great listener. And so that's number 1. He said great storytellers are great listeners. They don't ask questions with the intent on asking another question and getting their agenda out there, so they just kind of partially listen and partially are ready to ask their next question. No. When he asks a question, he gives you 100%. Because what you say to him, your response to his question, could be the thing that leads to another question, right? Not necessarily does he have his list of questions and I got to run through my list of questions, but if I listen carefully, it might spark something completely different and we may go a completely different direction. So number 1, great storytellers are great listeners. Number 2, the lessons are in the details. The lessons are in the details. So that's why, as a great storyteller, he has to be a great listener, because he listens for the lessons. I'll say that again. He listens for the lessons, right? So if the lessons are in the details, he's sitting there and he's waiting to hear that thing, right? Everyone has this kind of setup, this conflict, and this resolution. And just like every good movie, every good story, every good play, wow, really, yeah. Any good story has those 3 things. And so he's listening for the lesson. And I'm like the fact that he listens for the lessons and the lessons are in the details, I love it. I'm just eating this up, right? And so here I am, undivided. I literally forgot that we were in a room and there were other people kind of walking around and doing things and there were other noise, because I was so zoned into what he was saying. It was captivating, right? So number 1, great storytellers are great listeners. Number 2, The lessons are in the details. And number 3 thing that I learned from the Don is what I call him, you know. No, I don't call him. I call him Mr. Yaeger because he's Don Yaeger, right? So the 3rd thing that I learned is to apply the lessons. Apply the lessons. So of all these individuals that he was able to learn from, interview, some of them were mentoring him, he was constantly applying the lessons that they were teaching him. He wasn't only learning from their successes, he was learning from their failures. So all of a sudden the learning curve was just amazing for this guy. And that's why he is who he is today, where he's traveling out of Florida where he lives, and he's going all over the country, and people are paying him to tell stories. So the 3 things that I learned from him: number 1, great storytellers are great listeners. Number 2, you have to understand the lessons are in the details. And number 3, be sure to apply the lessons. I mean, side note, so while he's talking, you know, and there's a Q&A time with everyone, and people are asking him questions, and not once, but twice, he looked over at me and he said, you know what, actually, I was just talking to Mike about this. Actually, me and Mike were just discussing this. On the outside, when he said my name, you know, I sat there cool, calm, and collected. I was just, yes, we did speak about that, didn't we? But on the inside, I was like, but no one will ever know that because I was cool, calm, and collected. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this video. Those are the 3 things that I believe will make you a great storyteller, right? A great speaker in general. I'll go over one more time just because I know you guys are like, man, Mike is kind of all over the place. I'm not all over the place, but number 1, great storytellers are great listeners. Number 2, the lessons are in the details. And number 3, people, apply those lessons. Learn from others. That will make you great. This is Speak Audibly. You have a voice. Let it be heard.